A young mother waves through a window. Half an hour later, she is dead inside her own salon. A witness sees the killer's face. A neighbor sees his car. Police have a sketch, a fingerprint, and Dana. And still, for 10 years, nobody is arrested. This is the story of Dana Satterfield, a hairstylist from a small town in South Carolina, and the secret that took a decade to come out. If stories like Dana's should never be forgotten, stay with me. Consider joining this channel for more respectful true crime cases. Dana Chileen Fowler was born on November 16, 1967, in Spartanburg, South Carolina. She grew up in a close, religious family. People who knew her said she was warm, the kind of person who made strangers feel comfortable. After high school, Dana trained as a hairstylist. She worked in local salons for years, learning her craft. She married a man named Mike Satterfield, and together they had 2 children, Ashley and Brandon. Dana had a dream. She wanted her own salon. By the mid-1990s, she had built it. A small hair and tanning salon off Highway 221 in a town called Roebuck. It was simple. Some say it was a converted trailer near a liquor store. But to Dana, it was everything. Clients did not just come for haircuts. They came for conversation, for comfort. Dana's salon became a small piece of the community. By the summer of 1995, Dana's life was full. She was raising 2 young children. She was separated from her husband, though not yet divorced. She was running her own business, alone, late into the evenings. Her days were long. Her nights were often longer. She had plans. She had people waiting for her at home. She had a life beyond what happened next. On Monday, July 31st, 1995, Dana stayed late at the salon. Around 6:30 in the evening, a door-to-door saleswoman named Diane Harris stopped by. Diane sold Dana some cleaning supplies. Dana planned to use them while tidying up before closing. Around 8:10 that night, Diane passed the salon again. The lights were still on. Dana was inside, cleaning. Dana looked up. She waved through the window. It was an ordinary moment. Nothing about it looked like an ending. Around 8:30, Diane came back near the salon, waiting for a ride. Something was different now. The lights that had been on were off. Then Diane heard sounds from inside. Dull thuds, movement, then a crash. A young man jumped out through the salon window. Diane did not know Dana was still inside. She thought she had just seen a break-in. She had no cell phone, so she ran toward a nearby store to call for help. Then, something chilling happened. The same man who had just climbed out of the salon window walked into that very store. For a brief moment, Diane saw his face. She would never forget it. An officer arrived quickly, expecting to find a burglary. He walked into the dark salon with a flashlight. At first, nothing seemed wrong. Then he moved toward the back room. There, he found Dana. Investigators believed she had been assaulted and strangled. Her death was ruled a homicide. The details were painful, and they do not need to be repeated here. What mattered immediately was this: robbery did not appear to be the motive. Dana's purse and valuables were still in the salon. This had not been a random theft. It felt personal. It felt violent in a way that made investigators uneasy from the very first hour. Crime scene technicians searched the salon for anything that could identify the man who did this. Fingerprints, hair, biological evidence, signs of forced entry. They found a fingerprint on the water heater. It matched Dana's husband, Mike. For a moment, suspicion turned toward him. But Mike explained that he had installed and repaired that water heater himself while helping Dana set up the salon. His explanation held up. Mike also said he had been home with the children that night. The children confirmed it. He did not match the description of the man Diane saw fleeing the window, and he passed a polygraph test, including questions about whether he had hired someone to kill Dana. Investigators cleared him. So who was the man in the window? Diane gave police her best description: a young white male around 5'9" wearing a gray t-shirt and jeans. Officers used it to build a composite sketch, and they circulated it around Roebuck. But Diane knew a lot of local faces from her sales work. She did not recognize this man at all. That detail bothered investigators. Was the killer a stranger passing through? Or someone connected to Dana in a way nobody had considered yet? Then came another discovery. A second fingerprint. This one reportedly left in Dana's blood. Investigators believed it belonged to her attacker, but it did not match anyone in the databases available at the time. It did not match anyone close to Dana either. Forensic testing also recovered biological evidence from the attack. In today's world, that kind of evidence can sometimes be run through massive DNA databases in minutes. But this was 1995. Investigators had to collect DNA samples, one suspect at a time, and compare them by hand. They tested man after man. None of them matched. Around the same time, another witness came forward. A man named Ken Smith said he had driven past the Salon that night, close to 8:40. The lights were off. Dana's car was still parked outside, and near a neighboring closed business, he saw a nervous-looking young man standing beside a blue and white Ford Bronco. Police now had a possible vehicle. Word spread through Roebuck. People began calling in every time they spotted a blue and white Bronco. Even Dana's own children would tell their father whenever they saw one. But none of those tips led anywhere solid. At some point, though, one tip did point to a specific name. An anonymous caller mentioned a 17-year-old named Jonathan Vick. His mother owned a blue and white Ford Bronco, and reports suggested Jonathan had access to it that night. It seemed promising. But there was a problem. The tip was anonymous. Jonathan was a minor, and a judge would not approve a warrant for his DNA or fingerprints based only on an unnamed source. His mother refused to let police interview him or examine the vehicle. Without a named witness, investigators could not move forward. So why did no one push harder? Because at that exact moment, an entirely different lead was pulling their attention. Months after the murder, an inmate told police that his cellmate, a man named Russell Quinn, might be connected to Dana's death. Quinn was already in jail for a violent sexual assault. He reportedly talked about knowing Dana. He resembled the composite sketch. He reportedly drove a similar vehicle. Investigators showed Diane Harris a photo lineup. She pointed to Russell Quinn. For a moment, it felt solved. Then, the DNA came back. It did not match. Quinn was excluded completely. As one investigator put it, the science does not lie. The case went back to square one. Years began to pass. Dana's children grew up without their mother. Ashley and Brandon celebrated birthdays, started school, and moved through childhood carrying a loss they were too young to fully understand. The evidence still existed, sitting in storage. The eyewitness still remembered a face she had seen for only a few seconds. The vehicle lead still existed on paper. But nothing moved. For nearly 10 years, Dana Satterfield's murder remained unsolved. In 2005, a new sheriff took office in Spartanburg County, a man named Chuck Wright. He believed there was no such thing as a truly cold case, only old cases still waiting for their answer. Photos of unsolved victims were put on display, so the community would not forget them. Dana's photo was one of them. But the breakthrough did not come from a lab, or a new detective, or a fresh tip line. It came from an oil change. By 2005, Dana's daughter Ashley was about 18 years old. One ordinary day, she took her car to a local auto shop. A mechanic named Michael Pace looked at her and felt something strange. She looked exactly like Dana. When he learned she was Dana Satterfield's daughter, something inside him broke open. He had not even known Dana had children. For 10 years, Michael Pace had been carrying a secret. He had known Jonathan Vick when they were both teenagers. According to Michael, on the night of the murder, Jonathan gave him a ride home in his mother's blue and white Bronco. During that drive, Jonathan allegedly said he was heading to Dana's salon. He allegedly spoke about her in a way that made Michael uncomfortable. Given that Jonathan was 17 and Dana was 27, Michael laughed it off at the time. Jonathan allegedly did not laugh. He got angry. Then Dana was murdered. And police started asking about a blue and white Bronco. A few days later, Michael says Jonathan threatened to kill him if he ever told anyone what he knew. So Michael stayed quiet. For 10 years. He said he tried to reach out anonymously before, but without his name attached, there was nothing police could officially do with it. Seeing Ashley changed that. Her face was Dana's face, and Michael could not carry the silence any longer. In 2005, he walked into the police station and gave a full, named written statement. This time, investigators had what they needed. Not an anonymous tip, but a witness willing to testify. With Michael's statement, police finally secured a warrant for Jonathan Vick's Dana. By now, Jonathan was an adult, living in the Greenville area. Investigators tracked him down and collected a sample. Then they waited for the lab. The result came back as a match. One source placed the odds at 900 million to 1. 10 years of silence ended with a single test tube. Jonathan Vick was arrested. He denied knowing Dana at all. But the pieces investigators had gathered for a decade now fit together. The Dana. Michael Pace's statement. The Bronco scene outside the Salon. Diane Harris's memory of a face jumping through a window. Investigators believe Jonathan had gone to the Salon that night, possibly using a haircut as an excuse to get inside. They believed he made an advance toward Dana, and when she resisted, the situation turned violent. They believed the door was locked and the lights turned off from the inside. And when it was over, instead of walking out the front door, he climbed out through the window. That one strange choice was the reason there had ever been a witness at all. In November 2006, Jonathan Vick stood trial. He was charged with murder, criminal sexual conduct, and kidnapping. Prosecutors laid out the Dana evidence, the Bronco, and Michael Pace's testimony. The defense argued Jonathan was innocent. In court, Jonathan reportedly cried and insisted police had the wrong man. The jury did not need long to decide. They deliberated for around 20 minutes. Guilty on every count. Jonathan Vick was sentenced to life in prison, plus 60 additional years. Because he was 17 at the time of the murder, the death penalty was not on the table. Years later, while incarcerated, he reportedly attacked a correctional officer and received 3 more years added to his sentence. For Dana's family, the conviction brought accountability. It did not bring her back. Ashley grew up and became a victim advocate, helping other families who had lost someone to violence. She has said that people never really get over a loss like this. They just learn how to carry it. Dana Satterfield was not only a case file, she was a mother who waved through a window on an ordinary Monday evening, thinking she still had time to finish cleaning and go home to her children. She built a business with her own hands. She raised 2 kids while running it alone. She trusted the people who walked through her door. For 10 years, the truth waited quietly in a piece of evidence and in the memory of a frightened young man who finally found the courage to speak. Dana never got to see her daughter grow up. She never got to see Ashley's face, the one that finally broke a decade of silence. But her name was not forgotten. And in the end, neither was the truth.